Good morning and welcome to the Daily Connect. My name is Raymond and I'm so glad you could be a part of this time together. We are looking at God's Word. We're seeing where the Lord is leading us, who the Lord is calling us to be. Today is Tuesday. It's the second day of the month of April. And I probably say this probably a little too often. The year is going by super fast. We have just passed March and through the March Madness. We got through Easter and the Passion Week, and man, we're barreling into the summer already, and so we really have no time to waste. We really got to get on this walk with the Lord, really identify what is He calling us to do in light of this relationship that we have with Him. What is He calling us to do? What are we supposed to be focusing in on? We've got a lot of work to do. We're also going through the book of Joel. Joel is the second of 12 minor prophets that's found in the Bible, and so far, what we read yesterday, as we started this study, is about this coming of the day of the Lord. This day of the Lord of something so epic, this locust plague that it's clear it's on a scale that has never been seen before, and it's the question, have you ever seen this happen before? This is the day of the Lord that's fast approaching, and what are we going to do about it? And I think it's important, especially in light of what we're going to be reading today. It's important not to focus so much on this being a locust-specific plague, but what it represents. Because if we focus on the locust side of things, what are we going to do? We're going to start focusing on things like, well, what are some things we could do to safeguard our crops against these pests? When in fact the urgency really is not on the pesticides or anything of that sort. It's on our salvation. It's if something like this happening at such a scale, we shouldn't be worrying about these small little details. We should be worried about the larger picture, the larger message that is being conveyed. And that's what I see that's going to be talked about in the latter part of chapter 1, what we're going to be reading today. So without further ado, let's go and dive right into it. First, a good morning to each and every one of you, to Alistair and Bernadette, to Rich, to Josh, to Jeanette, to Missy, and to everyone who's watching this live. Thank you, and God bless you guys for waking up early and sharing this time together. You guys are awesome. All right, let's get into it. Joel chapter 1. Pull up a comfortable chair, grab something warm to drink, or something hot, which I've been going to tea lately, and open up your physical Bibles. And I hope you have your physical Bibles. We can't go to any other place for the Word except right here at His Word. So grab that Bible, open it up to Joel chapter 1, and let's see what the Lord has to say. So again, we're going through the book of Joel, and I titled this, Losing All in the Judgment. Losing All in the Judgment. The ripple effect to the heart. Joel chapter 1, we're going to read verses 5 through 12. 5 through 12. Let's take a look. We're going to pump the brakes on this as well, because we don't want to rush through this. We want to see what is the Lord trying to convey through Joel to the people of that time, and really for us as well. And I'm going to ask at the very end here, what is your takeaway as you read through this? What's that lesson learned? I want to encourage you to have that ready and share it. Share it at the end if you came to some insight in all of this. But starting with verse 5, Awake, you drunkards, and weep, and wail, all you drinkers of wine, because of the sweet wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. So again, if we just look at only this verse, just in a sense pull it out of context, this would seem like it's focusing on alcoholism, right? But it isn't. I mean, And it's very apparent in that latter half, or the first half, I should say, of this verse. Number one, we got to recognize there's a little bit of symbolism that's going on in here. Now, these drunkards, not necessarily talking about those who have a drinking problem, especially in the context of Scripture. We look at drunkards as either someone who is selfish, self-indulgent, or it could be representing kind of the sign of the times, a time of great excess, of great bounty, and as a result, people are just finding themselves consuming more than the usual times. Again, this is a culture where wine, alcohol, is a normal part of the culture. It's not that it's drunk like water, but it is something that is regularly consumed. And unlike what we see here in the States, if you go to modern day France, even you will see families raising their kids on wine, not because they're drinking it excessively, but it's a normal part of their diet. And then you go to drinkers of wine, and not to say that they are drunkards, but these are people that consume wine on a regular basis. This really represents all people, not just Jerusalem, not just Israel, but even all the nations. Because again, this is a cultural practice of the time. And again, it's not about this alcoholism, but about the people that will suddenly suffer. Because what is the focus here? We see that all the people that are, in a sense, paying attention to wine, what's going to happen? It's going to suddenly be cut off from your mouth. Taken away. There's going to be a sudden. It would seem like a sudden shortage, or suddenly there's no supply. But again, we have to read it in context. What's happening here? The locusts, this plague of locusts that are going to come and consume all of the crops. Of course, it's going to affect the entire economy as a result, including here the drinkers of wine. Let's continue. Verse 6. For a nation has come up against my land, powerful and beyond number. Its teeth are lion's teeth, and it has the fangs of a lioness. It's interesting. In the previous section, we introduced the concept of this locust plague, but now it seems like that locust is becoming less and less the pests, the insects, but more and more like some human army, a nation of some sort, a nation that's going to come up against my land. We also see that the locusts, like the nations, talking about, if you've read some of the things that we've gone over earlier in the Old Testament, that northern nation, whenever it's prophesied about this nation that's coming in to as an instrument of judgment of the Lord, it's that northern army, and these two really act as agents of God's wrath. The locusts, as well as the nation, this northern army. And it's also interesting to note that the Lord speaks of my land. The nation is coming up against my land. It's not he sees his attachment to his people and to the land that he has given over to them. And then we see that this talk about lion's teeth. Again, locusts do not have teeth. So some people may look at this and say, well, maybe what looks like teeth can be compared to a lion's teeth. What looks like fangs could be associated with a lioness. But it's less about the physiology, but more about the symbolism. You would have to ask yourself this question: like, why is it being compared? Why are the teeth of this invading nation or this invading locust compared to a lion's teeth? Well, we're talking about a symbolism of power, uh, which is to really emphasize what is this day of the Lord going to be like? It's coming down upon us like this locust plague, like a northern army, both of which are representative of agents of God's wrath, and it's coming with great power, like that of a lion's teeth or of fangs of a lioness. Verse 10. Oh, excuse me. Verse 7. Excuse me. It has laid waste my vine and splintered my fig tree. It has stripped off their bark and thrown it down. Their branches are made white. Again, the imagery that we see here of this force that's coming upon this land is such a force to be reckoned with. What do we see? The locusts here, or the army, has ravaged the land, leaving nothing but stripped trees, trees that have been stripped white. Essentially, to say there's absolutely nothing left of these trees, nothing to salvage, no leaves to be found on them, which points to a larger picture. There is no hope for a harvest anytime soon. Again, when you look at this from the perspective of, wow, the crops are ravaged to the point of nothingness, what does that spell for the future of the nation? Verse 8. Lament like a virgin wearing sackcloth for the bridegroom of her youth. So here we see that this mention of virgin. Well, the word in Hebrew actually is talking about a young woman, and the picture that is being painted here is actually quite ironic. We're talking about kind of a wedding scene, and a wedding is normally one of a great celebration, but here the bride, this bride is mourning. Or is in mourning, wearing sackcloth, mourning the loss of the groom, of her husband, whether it's her husband or in the context of them not being married yet, grieving over the groom. One way or the other, it paints a picture of irony here. You know, what would normally be a joyous time, again, tying it all together here. The drunkards, they would have every reason to be drinking because there's plenty of wine available to suddenly have it gone. Well, now you have a wedding scene where the bride would normally be rejoicing, but is now found grieving. And so the question becomes, who is the subject of this particular line, of this particular verse? Is it the trees? Is it the land? Because we had just been talking about those things. Well, it's more along lines, and a lot of scholars look at it this way. It is actually talking about the people of Jerusalem, how they will be the ones mourning the loss of the harvest because of this ravaging of the land. Let's continue. Verse 9. The grain offering and the drink offering are cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests mourn, the ministers of the Lord. Now, when you have the land that is completely cut off, crops destroyed, what do you have? Well, now you have a circumstance where there's a lack of offerings now, that the worship is going to be affected. This relationship with the Lord, the grain offering that is supposed to be brought before the Lord on a regular basis, it's no longer going to be there. The means to have that relationship, as commanded in the Torah, in the first 5 books of the Bible, particularly found in Leviticus, it's gone, and it's all because of the ravaged land, the crops that have been destroyed. And uh, again, looking at the larger picture, what is this saying? Because of God's judgment, we now have a situation where essentially God has rejected his people, because there are no more means to be able to have this worship. Verse 10, the fields are destroyed, the ground mourns, because the grain is destroyed, the wine dries up, the oil languishes. Again, the picture here, everything is exhausted, dried up, and we're talking about the basics. We don't have grain or wheat to be able to even make bread, the most essential of basics. And when the grain is destroyed, we're talking about even the storage of the grain is gone. There's no more, nothing left. Not even what's found in storage, whatever is stored up for future use. Let's finish this up. Verses 11 and 12. Be ashamed, O tillers of the soil. Wail, O vine dressers, for the wheat and the barley, because of the harvest of the field, has perished. The vine dries up, the fig tree languishes, pomegranate, palm, and apple, all the trees of the fields are dried up, and gladness dries up from the children of man. Do you see the larger picture that is being painted here? When you as you go through this, one stroke after another, you see a picture of diminishing hope. Right here, this particular section addresses the farmers, the tillers of the field. Their work for the last year, everything that they've been doing results in nothing. There's no fruit to be found in all of this, which has got to be heartbreaking, especially for those whose livelihood depends on these crops. Also, the devastation is very extensive. Here, we're talking about each of the major categories of crop is represented here, and each of them are being destroyed, dried up, just wasted away. This is really pointing to a very long suffering that's taking place here. It's one thing to have a plague of locusts come and consume all of the crops and destroy and ravage the land, but then this suffering carries on, continues on to the point where joy is lost. Joy is lost. The fields are dried up. Apparently, in addition to the locusts, there's also a drought. Again, drought is also one of those curses that the Lord is going to pronounce as a judgment upon the people if they disobey. And so you have the locusts coming upon them, the land being ravaged, a drought coming upon them. There's this loss of everything, and as a result of all of this, there's no more joy. The people are going to find themselves dried up of that gladness. Wow. This judgment that the Lord pronounces, really the day of the Lord, the day of judgment that is being talked about here, that's going to be on such an epic scale. The damage is extensive, not only upon the land, but all the way to that of man himself. So looking at these verses here, this section, from verses 5 through 12, what's your takeaway? What's that lesson learned? Share it in the live chat. Share it in the comments below. But let's learn together. How is the Lord speaking to you? And let's help each other come to appreciate and understand the Word a little bit more richly. Share it in the live chat. Share it in the comments below. But let's help each other recognize, how is the Lord speaking through all of this? For me, my big takeaway is this: judgment of God will not only affect the material, in this case, the land, the soil, the crops that are completely devastated, but it also affects the heart of man. It goes all the way to the point of, wow, that gladness that it just affects us. It That gladness no longer exists in us. That's how extensive this judgment will be. It not only affects the material. It's one thing that it affects the material, but also down to the point where man come to the brink of losing all hope. Amen. All right. Thank you once again for waking up early, sharing this time together. And I know for some of us, waking up early is a challenge. But if you've been doing this for a while, you know that it is good. This is how we are to really live our lives out, to give that best part of our day over to the Lord, to really be self-disciplined, because that's the power given to us by the Lord. Let's use it for His glory. Right now, just want to read some of the takeaways. Jeanette shares a takeaway: Father, help me to be awake and heed your warnings before the land has to be ravaged. Help me to treasure you above your provision. And Alistair acknowledges that, amens that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. And again, if you've got thoughts, insights, I want to encourage you, share it in the live chat, share it in the comments below. But once again, thank you to everyone. Alistair and Bernadette, Jeanette, Jean, Alvin, Pastor Manjin, Missy, Rich, Josh, you guys, thank you so much for sharing in this time. You guys are awesome. And everyone else who's shy or who doesn't have a YouTube account, that hasn't had a chance to pop in and say hi, thank you. I want to recognize you as well for sharing in this time. Let's go into this day reflecting on these verses and sharing those insights with other people around you. Let's build each other up. All right. Love you guys. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.